elected representatives at the state level on transportation and ferry issues. Those are critical for our economic development. These boards are important for us to be on so that your voice is heard. If we don't go, your voice doesn't get heard, we don't get in the priorities with the other counties, we don't end up getting the funds coming here to do economic development. So it's important that we do those, and those are just three.
David, before you sit down,
sure.
What are the updated costs for the Hadlock sewer plant? Commissioner Sullivan has stated the BOCC is the county's lobbyist. Why did the BOCC authorize $41,000 for a contract lobbyist? Two questions.
Two questions. Because we've got a very effective group that can be much more effective than we can in this situation in trying to get the federal or state money for this project. We are at a critical juncture in this project. As you may remember, urban growth area was first developed 2003, 2004. We've had to go through a lot of work, and hopefully we're done. We'll hear from the hearings board soon, and have all the problems with that comprehensive plan amendment fixed. That's important. We also have been working and have a sewer plan that's been approved by the Department of Ecology and the Department of Health, and that is critical to getting funding. Right now, we're in a place where we have a STAG grant, state and tribal assistance grant through the federal government for $1 million through Norm Dix's office, and we need to come up with the matching money for that, and also with the money for property acquisition, so that we can be in the next phase, we'll get the preliminary design done, and we'll be ready for the next phase of stimulus dollars. And there's a lot of stimulus money that hasn't been spent in the last package. If we can get a large amount of this funded through federal dollars, then the people in Port Hadlock will have it on their backs. And there's a lot of people that are going to have trouble affording this in the short run. Now, there's a lot of ways we can structure it so that it doesn't hurt those people. Because one of the things that happens with the sewer project, and by state law, you cannot assess people more than we've benefit. So that means your property value has to go up higher than what the cost is for the sewer, for the improvement. But what happens with most people is that you're all in different places in your financial lives. All your business plans, your financial plans, those are all different. So with some people, it's going to be a cash flow issue. It's going to be a problem coming up with what could be $20,000 for a residential lot to have a sewer. But if we get the cost down enough with the outside money, and we can come up with creative ways to help people finance those, use that equity that they have in their property, we can do this in ways that aren't painful for the people that live there, that they actually will all benefit from in the long run. And this is critical for addressing a lot of the problems in the county. Housing, affordable housing, we have several places that we can expand that immediately once they have a sewer. Economic development, a number of businesses are just waiting until they can not have to have a sewer, they can expand, and not have to have a septic, they can expand in those areas and provide more jobs, provide more sales tax for us, and take the pressure off. Thank
you. We have time, we'll come back to another couple of those. On parks, the three questions on the Memorial Stadium or Memorial Field. Are there any restrictions on the sale of Memorial Field for any other purpose than recreation use? That's one question on it. Is there any possibility that the county could divest Memorial Field? And as various interest groups assemble to resolve current fiscal issues, will the county be able to provide information to the participants regarding legal status of the property, such as deed covenants, reversion clauses, or other issues on informalities which may impact the resolution of the process? So are there any restrictions on the sale? Basically the issue. And I don't know whether the county administrator
The short answer is we don't know because we have not been considering selling Memorial Field or giving it to anybody at this point. So if in the longer term, right now we're focusing, as I mentioned, on getting partnerships up to run it for the next 2 years. In the longer term, if a solution for the long-term operation of the field comes up that would transfer ownership, we would need to cross that bridge and address that question. But at this point, that's not even on the table, so I haven't started to look into it.
Before you sit down, Philip, this may be something that you can address. Some are afraid the woodworking school at Fort Worden will take work away from Union Park workers, especially park aides. Any comments?
I don't think it's going to take any work away from union employees at the park right now because they can't keep up. They're falling farther and farther behind on maintenance of the buildings. And the buildings are, in many cases, decaying, powder coat, beetle problems. There's the painting. It's a continual job to keep the painting going. The Fort Worden itself is delighted. They're not thinking about losing any employees over this. They're delighted to have the backup to be able to make sure that these historic buildings stay viable. It's a very big part of the economy of Fort Worden. And it's important, after it starts, that those buildings stay in good condition.
I'm not sure how maritime law works, but is there any way that the county can dictate the timing of the Hood Canal Bridge opening? John?
Actually, I looked into that because maybe the person who wrote that question is the person who called me. And I know that not too many months ago, it just seemed that there was a tremendous number of openings, and it was extremely inconvenient and perhaps even scary for people who needed to have medical appointments or other important things across the bridge. So I called the DOT, and I got an interesting answer. Of course, they don't have any control over when that bridge opens, when naval vessels are going to cross, and they won't tell people when that's going to happen. And then there was an unusually large amount of opening that took place as the contractor attempted to figure out exactly how to do the opening and the closing. And I was a little surprised to see how much of this is almost by golly is too hard of a term, but there is sort of a series of trial and error openings and closings that they had to do. I learned more about the amount of water and the amount of sand or other ballast that goes into this floating bridge. It's a very complicated thing. The good news is that there's going to be less opening and closing. The bad news is the county commissioners aren't able to tell these people when they can be opening and closing. And ultimately, even the DOT isn't the final arbiter. There's a Coast Guard officer stationed in Seattle by the ferry building who makes those decisions, and that person isn't going to be at our beck and call. So I wish we did have more control over that. We certainly looked into it, and I used all of my powers to influence that.
Before you sit down, John, if I can, I'm going to read both questions. You can decide which order you want to answer them. John Austin, would you please describe what you feel the job description of county commissioner is? The second question is, Commissioner Austin, will you be a BOCC candidate this fall, this year?
I'll answer the second one first. I've not announced. I'm certainly seriously thinking